All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin the show then. Putting a spotlight on Apple's earnings for the quarter gone by. In fact, Apple has clocked a revenue record in India for the June quarter. This was part of a broader global growth trend, and that's according to CEO Tim Cook. Tim Cook also said that iPhone sales saw double-digit growth across emerging markets, and that includes India, South Asia, and the Middle East. Meanwhile, India remains the company's key focus because Tim Cook stated plans of opening more retail stores in the country later this year. Tim Cook also said that most iPhones sold in the United States are now made in India, and that's helping Apple absorb some of the impact of US tariffs. Now, as far as tariffs are concerned, well, Apple is staring at a $1.1 billion tariff bill for the September quarter, with the CEO confirming the hit is stemming from duties that were imposed under the US International Emergency Economic Powers Act. And that's on top of the $800 million Apple paid in the June quarter. Tim Cook also said the tariffs largely targeting goods from China have started significantly affecting Apple's cost structure this year. However, Apple's global manufacturing strategy is helping the company cushion some of that impact. But ladies and gentlemen, sticking to some more news centered around tariffs. Well, speaking of tariffs, the United States today announced an array of import levies that ranged as high as 41%. In fact, rates for India remain unchanged at 25%, and that was announced by Trump earlier this week. And to discuss more on the impact of these levies on India's electronics manufacturing ecosystem, on the tech ecosystem, whenever they get kicked off, or is there going to be an interim trade deal? What's going to happen so far as the electronics segment is concerned? To discuss some of those questions, I'm now joined by Pankaj Mohindroo, who is the chairman of Indian Cellular Association, IaCEA. Thank you very much, Mr. Mohindroo, for joining us here on ET Now. Now, this latest announcement by Donald Trump of 25% tariffs on India, plus there's an unspecified penalty as well. What are the near-term headwinds you're anticipating on electronics production in India if there is no deal that's signed between India and the United States, at least till the fall of this year?
No, I think generically we must remember that this is a negotiation, this is coercive negotiation. So we should be patient, and we should have only one objective in mind, that the US is a $3,500 billion market, the largest importer in the world, and plethora of products which are not which are sort of medium and low tech, also consumer kind of products which India can produce in mass scale. Electronics is 550 billion out of this, and so naturally we have very high interest in what the US imports. Now, what is the future? What we need to do is we need to patiently renegotiate and try to bring the tariffs downwards. At this moment, electronics is not impacted because the 232 investigation is on. That should be out in 2 to 3 weeks. So currently, smartphones, laptops, servers, etc., are not impacted by this.
Right, sir. So
and the comparative tariffs for China remain similar. They have the fentanyl duty on electronics, most of the electronics, 20%.
Right.
And they have duties mostly at 55% and 37.5%.
So very interestingly, you mentioned about Section 232 that's coming up in about 15 days. But what is the industry expecting whenever that, that meeting to discuss the impact of Section 232 that comes up?
No, that would be fairly uniform for all geographies.
Okay.
Whichever are the producing geographies, this will be, for us, it's for the semiconductors. So it will be uniform for most geographies, obviously, because semiconductor content in each, it's like the aluminium and the, steel duties.
Right, sir.
They'll be, suppose you are producing a laptop and the semiconductor content is, say, 30%. Now it will be 30% for us also, for Vietnam also, for China also. And that duty will be across the board.
Right.
So it is not,
Hmm.
it's not reciprocal or differential as this current case is where, Brazil has 50%, we have 25%, somebody has 30, somebody has 19, and all that,
Right.
confusion which has been created. Hanji.
Right, so I have to ask you this question because we're talking about Apple and the past quarter, smartphone exports by Apple to the United States have surpassed those of China. But what would be your feedback to policymakers to sort of offset the potential impact till the time an understanding is not arrived at between the United States and India?
So we are sort of doing fine compared to the other sectors, because the impact on the other sectors is now going to be felt only now, because they were at 10%, now they'll be at 25%. And some sectors are exempted, like electronics and pharmaceuticals, where 232 is on. So uh, the important thing is the BTA, which is a wholesome relationship uh, in terms of what the two nations are doing with each other in trade and investments, etc. Uh, it seems we have little bit fallen short, because the bonhomie was tremendous. We started it first, but we are a complex economy, and we are 1400 million people with a lot of diverse interest groups, and some very vulnerable interest groups who can get impacted. So
Absolutely.
it is a very tightrope walk for our negotiators, that we have to defend national interest and come out with a win-win. So
Absolutely. Right.
uh, I think the whole country, the nation is rallying around and supporting the negotiators and the Commerce Department. I think we will wait it out
Right.
uh, with our patience and uh, you know give and take
Right.
on certain other sectors.
Are you anticipating that perhaps, even as these discussions are going on, these negotiations are going on between India and the United States, but if we talk about the BTA, the first tranche of it, could India push for a zero for zero tariff strategy for the electronics segment?
Yes, we that is what the desire is going to be. That is what it's going to be from our side. We are very complementary economies. Uh, India's electronic manufacturing is rising, and special the high tech content, which is semiconductors, uh, etc. We are large importers of that. In fact, we already consume a lot of semiconductors of US origin, which are unfortunately not counted in the trade balance. This is more than $10 billion, almost $14 billion is the content. So we should also negotiate that there is invoicing happening from other destinations like Taiwan, Singapore, China, Japan, which are American based semiconductor companies. So we have to see that the complementarity is properly, it goes home in profound manners, so that India's export of finished goods is complemented by our import of, very high tech semiconductors, which we are not going to start producing in a hurry at the moment. So that makes it very complementary, and I think that should work very well for both the countries.